Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to shift your data governance framework to the next level. I am Valentine Conan, Director at Neos Group, and I will be your host today. Before we start, I'll go through some housekeeping items with you. We will be running a live Q&A at the end of the webinar, and we have enabled our Ask a Question feature. It is on the right-hand side of your screen, so if you have any questions, just write them in there. Please note that the recording of this webinar will be shared with you after the presentation. We will also answer individually to any questions if we run out of time for the Q&A session. So in this webinar, our guest speaker, Gabrielle Guimond, will share with you some insights to build the foundations that will make your data governance successful. Gabrielle is passionate about data and has over 10 years of experience in business intelligence and data science. Gabrielle supports Neos clients, guiding their strategy and decisions regarding data, particularly in the context of data governance. Without further ado, I'll now turn it over to Gabrielle. Gabrielle?
Thank you for the introduction, Valentin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How to Shift Your Data Governance Framework to the Next Level. So obviously, today, we're going to talk about data governance, a subject on which you may already working on without noticing it. So the goal of today's webinar is to give you more insights on the subject, so you'll be able to have a better conversation on it in your company. And also we're going to give you some actionable insights to help you to evolve your strategy. So on today's agenda, we're going to cover a definition of data governance. Also, we're going to tell you why data governance is important and why you should invest more on it. Afterwards, we will use a maturity model. This maturity model will be used to explain data governance really little by little. And for each level of this data governance, we will talk about the famous people, process, and technology. And also, speaking of technology, we will present several products to give you an overview on what's available on the market and which product can help you to improve your data governance strategy. The goal is not to give you a full list of products available in the market, but just to give you an idea. And finally, we will close this webinar with a Q&A session like Valentin says at the start. So let's start from the beginning with a good foundation, with a definition. I really invite you to search the web for just data governance definition. You will find a ton of different definition. At Neos Group, we really like simplicity, and here is what we got for all those definitions. So for us, data governance is a set of practice and principle that ensure quality throughout the data lifecycle. What is important to remember? Sorry about that. What is important to remember? It is in data governance, we don't want to just improve data quality. We want to improve everything that's around it. Speaking of what's around it, here is some elements that underpins data governance. First of all, there is security and audit. We can think about the principle of least privilege. So which means just give the data access that people need for their day-to-day activities. After that, we can talk about the data discovery and categorization. So this means to categorize data in how they are sensible. So they can be confidential too or personal. So an information that can pinpoint a particular individual. And we can talk about data quality as well. This is only examples. We'll cover other ones throughout the presentation. So now that we have a good grasp about what is data governance, we're going to talk about why you need to pay attention to it and why you need to allow resources to improve it. So first of all, today data appears in a large quantity and in large variety as well. Just think about big data. This is a right example, how the quantity of device that you have at home that gather and create information every time you go on the web and so on. So there is a lot of data that is produced and used by companies today. And also the variety is important to note as well. So data don't just came in rows and columns nowadays. It comes also in unstructured format in, for example, JSON or XML format. And also you have really unstructured data like this webinar, for example, a video, a voice, messaging, and so on. This is data that grows a lot, the unstructured part of it. Also, all this data that is captured by companies, the customers and the population wants it secured. So in the last couple of years, the different government put a lot of policies, standards that company needs to comply on. We can think about the protection of personal data like PIPEDA or GDPR. And there is also sound governance policies in terms of financial data, like the SOX and the C198 bill in Canada. Finally, companies like yours may want to capitalize on all of this information and data to improve their decision-making in their organization. In order to do that, we really need to better understand how the data flows from start to finish. So from where the data is extracted and how it would finish through the end user. To do that, we're going to talk about it a bit further in the presentation. It's called data lineage. So that will explain how data starts and how it finishes, because it's really rare that we use data in its raw form. Usually we add some filters, aggregation, we mix it with other data sources. So we're going to talk more about data lineage throughout this webinar. So now that we have, now that you are convinced that data governance is important for you, let's go through the framework that we will use during this presentation to describe the different components of data governance. This picture that you see in the presentation, this is a maturity model created by Gartner, and it features 6 different steps from left to right, and there is a curve in the graph as well. Obviously, the more higher the curve is, the higher your maturity on data governance is as well. What is interesting also is for several phases, the slope of the curve is different, is higher. So there is some phases that are more important than others because you gain more maturity at the end. What I also like to add is the fact that the maturity model, this maturity model, is not an exact path to follow, because you can stop at any phase of the framework based on what is best for your company and the amount of resources you want to put on your data governance strategy. Additionally, you may recognize your organization in several of those phases. This is totally normal because this model is not a box. It more allows us to evolve and evaluate our progress. So if we took that model from time to time and we see improvement, this is a really good sign. So let's go throughout every one of this stage, and let's start with the level 0, which is unaware. So at this level, this means that the organization is ignorant or unaware about data governance. This means that there is little or no data governance process in place. This means also that data governance usually start with a personal initiative. So a single person is aware of what the data governance can bring to the company, and she wants to sell this idea to others. Also, one thing that is really important at this level is if you want to get started, you need to find out why your organization will implement a data governance strategy. So it's going to be used for selling this strategy to executive. And what is really important is your objective needs to fit what your business is doing. So if you need to fit those two together, you're going to have a better conversation with your executive. Here is a couple of examples that you can use, but again, it's really important to fit those objectives in your for your company, for your environments. So the first example is compliance with legal standards. So what we're talking about a few slides earlier. So I'm pretty sure here nobody wants his company to pay fines or be on the front page of a newspaper because they didn't comply to some policies. The second is maybe you want to use data to improve your decision making in your organization. So what is important if you want to do that is you need to improve the level of confidence in the data you bring to your user. So at the end, you need to improve your data quality. Trust me, there is nothing worse than doing a beautiful report, a beautiful dashboard that answers your client requirement, but no one will use it if they don't have any confidence in the data that is in it. Also, it's really interesting if you already have a business intelligence or an analytics strategy in your company. It's really interesting to grow them and hand in hand with your data governance strategy, because when your data governance strategy will grow in maturity, your BI strategy will grow in the same time, because you're going to improve your data quality. So it's going to keep so the confidence of what you're building in terms of analytics will improve as well. So both go really hand in hand in that case. Also, what you may want to do is to use this information not just to take decisions, but totally to run your business. So you may use data really to improve the efficiency of your company. So, for example, if you have a supply chain in your organization, you may want to automatize the purchasing or to use data to do some preventive maintenance on your equipment. So here we just gave 3, but again, really depending on your environment, just fit the goal of your data governance strategy with the goal of your organization. At this stage, on the tools and support level, the tools are really limited. We're talking about a local documentation of data sources, and the sharing is really limited between projects and people. So let's jump to level 1. At this level, the company realized the importance of data governance strategy, and we start to build awareness around the business. But we quickly realized that we were still lacking executive support. So at this level, it's really important to take the objective in level 0 and to use it to sell your strategy to the executive to get support and resources. It's at this level also that we start to notice some data quality issues really more often, because we are aware that data governance exists. So let me give you an example. Maybe we want to evaluate. We start a meeting to evaluate where we're going to go in the next quarter, in terms of strategy and so on. So it's really a strategic meeting in here. And 2 people arrive in that meeting with totally different figures on how it went for the last quarter. So, so we were supposed to talk about strategy, but the half of the time during this meeting was to argue which number was good or not. So it's a case where data governance will really limit these kinds of occurrence to be in your company. Also, it's at this level that we start really to write our data governance strategy via a business case, for example. And also in this business case, you may want to put some benefits that data governance can bring to your company. And here are some examples. So with a good data governance, you will better understand your data and better use your data to capitalize it. Also, you will improve your data quality, so to prevent scenarios that I presented earlier. Also, you will facilitate data management. So to people that use data day in, day out, it will facilitate their job a lot. Also, one that I really personally like is data governance will empower the actors responsible for the data. What I mean by that is usually in company, the ownership of the data usually goes to IT because it's them who stores it, who is responsible to store it and to usually put some business rules in it. But it's not usually IT who create that information or gonna use it on a day-to-day basis. So a good data governance strategy will put roles, responsibilities, and ownership in that data and brings back that ownership to the people that really benefit the most to that information. A final benefit that data governance can bring to you is better access control. So you will be able to document, test, and audit your the access on your data. Finally, for level 1, at a tool and support perspective, at this stage, the business start to understand the relevance of sharing information, but it still updates really irregularly. So let's go to level 2, which is reactive. At the start, we start to move more and execute our data governance strategy. At this level, our stakeholders really understand what data governance can bring to the table, and we have our resources and support that we need. So we use those resources to put some good practices in place. For example, we can put data discovery and mapping. So what this means is to have an inventory of all your company's data sources. So that will facilitate a lot the onboarding of new resources or just for data research in the company. For example, I want the data for our customers. With a good discovery and mapping practice, you will have that documented. It's going to be obvious for everyone where that information is. Also, as another practice that you can implement is the inventory and the management of your metadata, which is the data on the data. Metadata can come in 2 forms: in business form, so definition, who is using it, for example, and technical as well. So the technical metadata is the documentation of tables, of fields, data types. We may also add transformation that is applied on this data. But nothing is perfect at that level. We during stress period or during period of issues, we are still reactive. What we mean by that is, let's say that we have a deployment in production to do, and obviously something is going wrong. We have one of our developers that knows how to fix the problem. So we give him access, admin access on the database. He fixed the problem, but we forget to revoke those access. So you can see that we have a start of a good strategy because our developer doesn't have access in production, but it's still reactive because we don't have audits and so on to target that a person has some access that they shouldn't have. At this level, the information start to be shared between projects and individual, and it shows on the tools that we are using. The tools are really turned more into facilitate sharing more, so via wikis, via Excels on shared drive, for example, and we may start to do some operational reporting on our metadata as well. So let's go on level 3, which is a really important phase. At this level, the data governance is really taken seriously, and we start to see some benefits. One of these benefits is the the minimization of operational risk. What we mean by that is simply, for example, be able to meeting the requirements of different rules and policies. It's an example of minimizing operational risk. We do that by having some practices in place. For example, we may assess our data quality that we provide to the users via reports or KPIs. Also, we may inspect more the transformation and the aggregation that we are doing to the data and document them. So we start to see some concept of data lineage here. On the end spectrum, we start also to document and define the performance indicator, so the KPI that the business is using on a day-to-day. So if we go back again on our examples, the meeting with the different figures, in that case, it's obvious when we saw a number in a report what the definition of this number is. Also, we do some audit on our data access. So in our other example with the deployment in production, this will be prevented because we do periodic audit on our data access, and we may also launch some different alerts if we saw any problems. At level 3, data governance is really integrated into a project. So what this means is during a new project, we really document the movement of data, the security of the data, and those deliverables are really milestone in our project. It's not just an afterthought. 1 week before the deploying, we need to, this project is gonna have some personal information for our user. We need to do that. No, this is something that we think before it, and we plan directly in our project. It's also at level 3 that we start to formalize roles and responsibilities. So we start to see that ownership that I was talking about previously. So here is 2 of the important roles and responsibility that we start to see at this level. So before I explain that to you, I just want to add that it's really rare that someone call themselves a data steward. Usually, depending on the size of the company, is more a responsibility than a role directly. So the first one is the data steward. That person is responsible for data quality and the definition of the data as well. She's really the owner of that data, that information. This person is assigned to each business area, and they really are subject matter expert in their domain, so they can have their word to say in their level of expertise. Also, a role that we hear less about is the data custodian. This person is responsible for data storage, data transport, and also the implementation of business rule. Really, this is simply anyone that access and operates the data. They can be developers, data analysts, or database administrators. Let's jump to level 4. At this level, we know how to manage data governance, and we want to continue the momentum that we build in previous stages. So our efforts remain constant. This is why really data governance in a whole is a process. It's not just a project with a end date. It's really something that we need to improve on a day-to-day basis. So to do that, we start to measure ourselves to find the positive and negative impact that our data governance strategy bring to the company.
One of this measure can be some service level agreements, or SLAs, that will guarantee a certain level of data quality to users. So in previous level, we just report on it. We just had some KPI at that and at level 4, we really commit to a certain level of data quality. So we saw the improvement in here. Other things that we can do is to really put more efforts on data lineage. Again, in other level, we just document it. Right now, we put everything together, and we know with our data catalog, we know which data source we have, we know the transformation we put to the data, and we know what the definition of the output data is. So everything that the user have in his hands, we know how it starts, which transformation it was applied on it, and how it's used at the end. So we really have the full life cycle of the data. It's also at that level that a new responsibility is or role is established. It's called the Data Governance Board. This board is responsible for the evolution of the data governance strategy, and its members meet periodically to discuss data issues. On this committee, is really important to have people with different backgrounds. So it's important to have our some executive presence to, have a good legitimacy of that board, and it's also important to have some data custodians or data stewards, so they can bring really the problems that happened really at it more down in the company, so everyone understand them better. And finally, let's go to level 5, which is effective. And which is also the highest in Gartner's maturity model. At this level, the company has achieved a goal that is set to itself for data governance, and also the company is using data as a competitive advantage. Also, the company is not afraid to compare itself in terms of data governance with others, with its competitors, for example, and the company always pursue continuous improvement to avoid immobility. It's really important to not forget the good practice that put the company at this great level. It's what we can call a data-driven company, which believes in data and has a serious policy and for data management and the use of the data in this company as well. So you saw that in the last couple of levels, we talk less about the tools and technology. The point of that is to give you an overview of what is available on the market, and it really depends on which level you are and, again, why you are doing your data governance strategy. So in the next couple of slides, we will present you some of them. So we will break them in 2 categories. So native tools, for example, what is available to you via your cloud provider, for example. We will present tools from Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. Also, there is some third-party tools. Those third-party tools come obviously for a different company and can connect to your existing tools. We will focus on several features on these tools. First of all, the data catalog is really to find new sources and to document the existing one that you have in your organization. Also, we're going to talk about security, obviously, the access, the monitoring, the audit, and it will be able to launch alerts if there is problems. Also, on the data and metadata management side, it's really used to facilitate the operation on data and the work of data custodians and stewards. And also, we're going to talk about end-to-end tracking, so the famous data lineage. So let's start things off with Amazon, which offers several tools with their Amazon Web Services, so the AWS platform. So the first is the de-identified data lake. This data lake offers some data masking and data privacy components directly in the solution. Adding to that, you can categorize your data in the data lake. So for example, if this data is confidential and so on, and you will be held by some machine learning algorithm, which called Amazon Massey, is using to really pinpoint which column, which row, which data that needs to be protected and masked from different users. It's just an overview of what Microsoft offers. There are other tools available as well. Let's go to Google Cloud Platform also. First of all, there is their data dictionary. Google's love to present users with tools that they know. So on a search and tagging way, it works really similar to, for example, Gmail or Google Drive if you are users of those tools. The data catalog connects easily with Google services, obviously, like BigQuery, but it also connects to other external services like Oracle, Amazon Redshift, or even Tableau. On the data management side, Google offered the Cloud Data Loss Prevention, which helps you to classify and protect your sensitive data. Also, on the security side of things, Google offers data logging and cloud audit logging as well. So this allows to track real-time events and trigger alerts with your own thresholds. Also, you can have advanced analytics and historic data analysis because the data is bring to Google BigQuery. Let's close the native tool with Microsoft Azure. So in terms of data cataloging, we find Microsoft flagship product in terms of data governance, which is Azure Data Catalog. This tool offers data discovery, the documentation of these data sources, and the connection for that data custodians. It's really helpful for them at this level. And Power BI also has some data cataloging feature in the certified data sets tool. This allows the company to certify some data sets, some important data set for them, so report users and builders can see those data set and have better confidence in it and can reuse it. And every reports that use this certified data set are flagged in that way. So it's really interesting, for example, in case of financial reports. At a security level, there is a lot of tools that Microsoft is offering. Let's start with the row-level security, which is available in Power BI and SQL Server. Let me explain this feature with Power BI. So let's just pretend that we're building a report about sales, and we're having 3 different regions with different salesperson as well. So we build only one report, and with row-level security, when our salespeople will connect, they will only see the data for their own region. So we don't need to duplicate those reports and so on. The other security feature is data masking that is on SQL Server. That will simply allow to, without changing the raw data, your end user will be able to see just for example, the last 4 digits of a credit card number. Also, Microsoft use Azure Active Directory for access management, for group assignment, multi-factor authentication. So Azure Active Directory is really the key for authentication in every Microsoft Azure service. There is also the Security Center that offers AI to detect vulnerability issues in all of your Azure environments. Finally, where Microsoft offers Azure Data Loss Prevention, which is a policy management system in your Microsoft Exchange that will analyze emails and attachments in your emails. So everything that is exchanged inside or outside your organization, and will protect in case of breach, so in case of documents or things that you don't want to share with other people, and that will be reported. Also, you can use your own templates or use templates that Microsoft offers. In terms of data management, it's really simple. It's still Azure Data Catalog that allows several people to contribute and document data sources. Finally, in the data lineage level, we have Power BI again that offer data lineage features. So you can start either from a report, so we can see in a report which data source it used, and on the flip side, you can start with a data source and in which reports this data source is used. So let's go in third-party tools now. These tools are really interesting in a hybrid environment. So even if your company is using cloud and on-premise together, or if you are using several cloud providers in the same time. Again, the goal is not to give you everything that is available on the market, just to give you their main selling points. So let's start with DocExpress from SentryOne. These tools fits well with a Microsoft environment. It's excellent. It's very good in data tracking, in data lineage, and it's good also on database documentation. So this tool is more oriented through data custodian. Next, we have Oval Edge, which have great data catalog capabilities that are really simple to use for everyone in the organization. And they also have metadata management and data access feature as well. Through that, his big differentiator is this tool is open source, so it's highly configurable, and it's also really easy to integrate if you are using open source, obviously. And let's finish things off with Collibra. Collibra is really an integrated platform, is really bulky as a solution. There is a lot in it. So you have data cataloging, data tracking as well. You even have statistics on your data privacy, and it's going to help you to audit your data access as well. So as you can see, very different tool for very different needs as well. And there is plenty other ones available on the market as well. So in conclusion, what we need to remember for this presentation and to improve your data governance strategy, you really need to work with your senior executive in your business to show them the benefits of data governance and link the objective of your data governance with the overall business strategy. And always keep your goal in mind. It's really important to continue to have this very valuable executive supports, and don't be shy also to be flexible in your goal. Obviously, the goal of your company will change. Your data governance strategy should have that flexibility too. Finally, it's really important to understand that data governance is really a continuous improvement. It's a process. It's not a project with an end date. So don't forget also to use the small victories that you have at the start of the implementation of your strategy, because it's going to give you some gas to move forward and show quickly the benefits of the strategy. So you're going to have more people on board as well. So if you are interested to go further in data governance, we add some links here. And don't hesitate to contact us if you need a hand in your in the implementation of your data governance strategy. I really want to thank you for your attention in the last couple of minutes. And it's now our turn to listen to you. So don't hesitate to send us your question. We will be really happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriel. That was great. And as Gabriel mentioned, you can ask your questions at the top right hand of your screen. You should see an icon that shows you the question mark. So if you want to ask us any questions, you feel free to write them there. I guess while people think about questions, I have questions on my end for you, Gabriel. In terms of challenges when you implement a data governance strategy, what is the most common issue that you're seeing? Because I guess you talk to a lot of clients that are trying to do that. Is there, I guess, a common trend that people are facing?
Mm-hmm. It's really to put yourself in the shoes of executive, to make them understand maybe the risk that your company can have without a data strategy. So not just think about the benefits of your strategy, think about, if we don't have a data strategy, what can happen, which threat the company can put themselves into. So you can flip things around also, just to think about, what if we don't have a data governance strategy? We can just flip things around. And the other thing I saw a lot is just to don't, people are not flexible enough in their strategy. They want to do everything at once. So start maybe with a department, with maybe just a data catalog. Start with something small and make it grow. Don't try to do everything at once and to be at level 4 in 1 week. It's going to be impossible. So get your sponsorship on an executive level and start small. Start with something really valuable and make it grow in your company.
Great, thank you. And we just got a question here, and this is a question regarding SLAs. So the question is, could you please provide us some examples of SLAs on data quality that can be currently managed, for example?
Yeah, really simply, an SLA is just something that you commit yourself to deliver to your clients. It can be also directly in your company. So it's something that, for example, IT will promise to deliver to its client. I will start with an example that we see in cloud providers, just to give you an example. And after that, I will go to an example that you can give to your internal or external users. So what is really common is in cloud services is, for example, a 99.9 availability of the service. So you know that 99.9% of the time, and even sometimes more than that, the service will be available to you. So you can see the same thing on a data perspective. So let's get a really simple example here that 95% our data, we are confident 95% that is good. So let's think maybe surveys in here, survey that you hear that you hear on the radio, that you read in the newspaper. Usually you have confidence intervals in here. So we are sure 95% of the results of our survey. Think the same about your data. I'm 95% certain that this information is real. So you have 5% that you can play with. So this is some great SLAs to put in your to kickstart in your data governance strategy.
Okay, great. And I have 2 more questions here. So I'm going to publish the first one for everyone, which is about how long it takes to a mid-sized organization to reach level 3. I guess the question is around the timeline that we could think about.
Yeah, it's really depend what you want in that. So every level can be adapt to your own company. Maybe level 3 is a bit different for your company than another company. So really the levels are only there to just be able for you to grow and to compare yourself to yourself, basically. So I don't have a precise moment to give to you, but the important thing is set a goal that you want to achieve and just build through it with really small victories from time to time. Don't try to do anything at once. It's going to be really difficult. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any time frame to give. But just be clear with where you want to go with that and which steps you want to achieve before getting to that objective.
Okay, great, thank you. And another question here, a little bit different that I'm going to publish as well, which is, in order to get started, do you have templates that we can use to get familiar with the process and data elements to collect prior to assessing for a vendor or third-party tool, for example?
So if I understand correctly, this is more linked about vendors and tools, right?
I guess assessing and selecting the right vendors to work with. That's probably part of the question.
Okay. So again, it really depends of your environment. If you are on-prem, if you are cloud-based, and the objective that you have behind your head to do your strategy. So my advice here will be to really build your own what is important for you. And I'm pretty sure if you go online, you will find you will find some interesting things in here. But really personalize it to your own company there.
Right, I guess that makes sense. Like each company is very different from others. All right, I guess I'll have one more question for you. If the attendees still have some more questions, feel free to share that with me. But we have another question that was shared with us earlier on, which is like the question is, can you execute your data governance strategy while you are executing your existing BI initiatives? Like, how do you work on that when you have both, basically?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. I think both really go hand in hand, because what we see usually in a BI or analytics strategy is sometimes we're going to hit a wall. Why? Because we have data issues, we don't trust the data, or some other things. So if you start in the same time or a bit after your data governance strategy, that will improve your data quality, and you will be able to go further in your BI or data analytics strategy. So it's really interesting to grow them in the same time, but usually it's the BI strategies that go first, because people want to use data to improve their decision making. But again, you get stalled, you hit a wall, because a lot of times because of the quality of your data. So you start your strategy, and your BI and analytics strategy will be able to go further when we pass through that wall. So it's really possible to have the twos that grows together.
Right, great, thank you. I don't think we have any additional questions for today, but I just wanted to let everyone know that if you have any specific questions for us, feel free to email me on that, and I'll also reach out to all of you with the recording of this webinar as well as the PDF document. And we're also offering to spend more time with Gabriel to answer your questions. So if you want to explore anything on your end, if you have any questions for him, we're happy to book a call with you and Gabriel to talk more. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And again, you have the last slide here with our contact information and website. Gabriel, thank you so much for that today. That was great.
Thanks, Valentin, and thanks everyone.
Thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.